You can build body weight, strength, and skill no matter your age. Period. End of video. But really only the beginning. This video will show you the 3 secret keys to unlocking the fountain of youth for mastering your body despite age, past injuries, and roadblocks. It'll be hard work, but it is possible. Just like Drea in her 40s, Paul, aka PJ, in his 50s, or Nancy at 69, or Joel in his 70s. But please don't go getting hurt because you mistook videos for instruction, okay? But we'll get into serious detail here. Much of it depends on your mind, as well as all the training, which we'll talk about. And don't let the masses fool you. When people say they're too old, they're really just too stiff, mentally and physically. I'm sure you've heard those naysayers. But we've turned plenty of old rusty frames into polished 69 Camaros. Quick assessment. How is your forward folding? How are your hips and knees in the low squat? How is your hanging strength? It's not pass-fail, it's just assessing baseline. The first key is rebuilding the engine. Now, what do I mean? This actually applies to everyone. Outside of my children and family, me and my team have personally trained students from 3 up to 83 years old. I'm personally into my 5th decade of life and have had some serious surgeries as well. And chances are you've experienced injuries, surgeries, or problems that you may have had for decades. Maybe joints or biochemical like diabetes or blood and heart related. Now, what I mean by rebuilding the engine is something I see in myself as well as pretty much any individual we've worked with. It's the inner system that runs everything. Where I see the most hang-ups is extremely poor nutrition, sleep, work habits, and especially mindset, your brain and thoughts, which all have a direct bearing on your energy, your joints, your hormones, your strength, your skill, and especially your sustainability. Let's take nutrition as an easy, quick first example. I'll ask, hey, how's your nutrition? They'll 100% guaranteed answer, pretty good. So instead I'll ask, what did you have for breakfast? And then what? And their answers come slower and slower. Some kind of sandwich for lunch, coffee, home-cooked meal for dinner. We all know what that means. Sometimes we'll even have to dig for months and come to find out they've been using alcohol to de-stress every day at night, and the whole can of worms starts to open. Since we touched on nutrition, I'll give a super easy recipe. Keep it simple, real food, as close to the original sources as possible. Not overcooked, overmixed, or overmerged, just simple, real food. And drink water, and that's it. If you do that for 30 days, you'll notice all kinds of changes. Some welcome changes and some unwelcome changes that expose all the toxins causing physiological and even mental changes. Then sleep and lifestyle and stress. It's actually the rust all over the engine block. People are eating way too much and not the right stuff. Doing too much of the wrong stuff. Thinking too much of the wrong things. It's corrosive to the engine we are building. So first is to blast the engine block and take it down to bare metal. You might even want to fast for a few days. Then we start to build on top of that, like sleep, minimum 7 hours of quality. By the way, you don't need anything fancy to track your nutrition and sleep. In fact, technology oftentimes interferes. And then comes your mindset, habits, and lifestyle. And we can get into the nitty-gritty like hormones and blood work. Most doctors will not do a full panel including hormones unless you specifically ask for it. I'd recommend that as you get up and running. It's the same as checking your oil. Then comes the training, and we'll get more into all that in a little bit. But these are the physical parts of the engine, so to speak. The nutrition, the sleep, the lifestyle, the stress. So subscribe so you don't miss anything, and definitely opt in so that if social media ever vanishes into thin air, we can stay connected and you can keep getting all the trainings all of our top students receive. Plus, connect with my team, get PDFs, and get secret info for competition and special travel events. But a lot of people will not take care of these issues like nutrition, sleep, lifestyle, and stress and go try a hike or a workout someplace and then, oh man, I'm getting too old for this. No, you're not. You're merely in the process of restoration. As a mentor told me in a very challenging time, suck it up, buttercup. A great example though is Vinny, age 53, who works as an attorney for the state for child protection, so definitely stress. He balances with game nights, travel, and of course training. And he has been through a litany of surgeries, from 5 hip surgeries to recently a doctor cut his femur in 2 and rebuilt it because his hips pushed his knees inward. So he is going through the healing process and all of that recovery. And his nutrition, I'm not saying to do this, but vegetarian, sugar-free, caffeine-free, his activities, training, and community, they all help the process. And it all ties together. The second key is the mental. Again, lots of folks complain all through the comments. My team screens a lot of that out. People will say, there's no way a 40-year-old could do this stuff, or a 50-year-old, or a 60-year-old. And we have examples of students literally doing this. Then the 70-year-olds come out of the woodwork saying, I'd like to see a 74-year-old doing this. There's no way. It's like they keep raising the stakes brakes on us. We've had up to 83 doing this training. And just to really drive the point home, there was an 82-year-old lady competing in gymnastics at a real event. And of course, there's the old Shaolin masters doing handstands on fingertips and swinging around 100-pound spears. Or Che, who got her first press handstand, V-stand, and muscle up in the first 12 weeks of training in her late 40s and completely rocking it now. Or Darren, killing it in his 50s. And Marty too. The trick they're employing is mindset. Sometimes they work too hard and we have to tell them to take it easy. Quick story, you guys are awesome, and usually it's positive. In fact, 99% of folks send me super positive comments and emails all the time like this. I get this one all the time. Dear Coach Lee, my name is Jim or Jane. I stumbled across your YouTube channel. 64, back injury. Love what you're doing and already made XYZ improvements, just copying, and want to start taking training seriously and see what's possible. Another trick, the motivation. What keeps you going? Could be family, children, grandchildren, goals you still want to achieve. And you know what? Those are the folks who will crush it. And this is what I aspire to as well. Little did you know that you are all my heroes. I'm only into my 5th decade of life and have since my 20s looked with awe on the old masters and now my own students. But it starts with the mind. Honestly, that should be the first key. But sometimes it's easier to take actions like nutrition or first steps of training with a coach or just something simple to get things firing. Truth be told, they go hand in hand. Faith cannot exist without works and vice versa. That's from James. And it applies to all of life, including your physical training. The brain creates action. I won't get into the neurology and all that, but there are literally conditions that arise that doctors will try to give you a pill for because of a lack of movement from both brain and body. Say for example, you complain all the time, or you're around people who complain. Just being a negative Nancy or Nelson. That's not gonna be healthy for the neurotransmitters in your brain. If we only focus on who's sick, who got fired, who died, and worrying about all that, or stuck in the past in our glory years, it does absolutely nothing positive on a neuropsychological level. Even the Bible says the present and future are yours, but not the past. If we want our golden years to truly be golden, we have to start by unlocking the mind by positive thought, positive word by positive word, and positive action by positive action. You know, there's a whole train of thought that a person should retire at around 60, and it's like life is over. Abraham lived to 175. Moses didn't begin his speaking career until 40. Morgan Freeman didn't land his first big break until age 50 on a kid's TV show, and he had been trying since age 9. Stu didn't come into training until 71 after he was dead on a hospital bed from heart surgery. He advanced all the way to floating handstand progressions, pull-ups, and more. And by the way, thanks for all the comments and the super thanks down below. I appreciate you guys and the community we're building. The third key is the training. This is building and polishing every detail of the Camaro. We've seen every problem under the hood and sun, from broken vertebrae to Hashimoto's to single kidney to every torn tendon you can think of, every fracture you can think of. I literally mean everything. This is the labor of restoration, working through all of those things. Now, I'm about to be honest. One thing that pisses me off a great deal is the way physical therapists are not really allowed to train people back to high performance. Insurance doesn't cover it. I could be wrong, but I don't even think there's a billable code for that. Depending on the chiropractor, it can be hit or miss. There's some real charlatans out there. I work with one good one who basically did ice, massage, grafting, and mobility work. He was really good. There's some others though who are racking up class action lawsuits against themselves. No lie. But what we do is hire physical therapists with doctorate degrees and then train them in our methods. And they are absolutely crushing it with their students. And you see all the students in these videos. To start, here's a longer assessment. Again, how's your front folding, and then your bridge, your splits, your lotus, W sit, shoulder dowel stretch, wrist mobility, ankle mobility, even your fingers and toes. If a person comes into training, they'll start with a 10-move quiz. For training, we will work specifically towards basics like pull-ups and eventually muscle-ups. But this might start with just rows or hangs. For pushing, it might begin with front folding walkout to push-up, like Stu here, and then progress to push-ups and dips and even handstands. For legs, it's a lot more about mobility and static strength. You could try static lunges or mini lunges or a variety of horse stance positions, and core. There's a huge problem with core strength, especially if you've done sedentary careers. And even if you've been working out, chances are your core could still be strengthened by upwards of 80%. Basics like tucked hollow holds will advance all the way to front levers if you work hard and for a good amount of time. But the core is literally atrophied in around 80% of the population, which wreaks havoc for the rest of the body. And then we get down to the details that arise on an individual basis. What are yours? Listen, These are not roadblocks if you don't allow them to be. You just need to train properly, a little at a time, and really restore the person you ought to be. Vibrant, healthy, a leader, a role model, a mentor to the younger ones. Don't let social media and distractions train the brains of our younger generation. We need to lead with strength. Now, hopefully this inspires you and gives you some real tools to go out and start the restoration process. And hopefully it shuts up, or rather opens the hearts of all the curmudgeons out there and helps them become the leaders they were meant to be. I greatly admire my elders and those who have gone before me and shown me what's possible. And not only the old masters, but our current students, as well as many others who have been a light to my path in not only this area, but many other areas of life. See you in the next video and in training soon.